Well, hellos, how are you? It's Rod Fleming. I'm in the Philippines. It's hot, but I can't really run the air conditioning because it makes too much noise. We're going to talk a little bit more generally today because today is the 30th of November, which marks the 5th anniversary of Sam and I living together. That's right, we have effectively been married for 5 years, which is quite nice. And it's also St Andrew's Day, and I'm Scottish. So I wanted to talk a little bit more generally. First, before I do, let's please remember that we do need the money. You know, we can't live on air and we can't live on kind thoughts. So please, just a little bit in your pocket onto one of the sites. Buy a coffee, a Ko-Fi, various other things. You know, join my Patreons, whatever. A little bit of support always helps. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about how men get into long-term relationships with ladyboys, because it is quite interesting. I was asked there was one of these horrible feminist type things on my Twitter. They're going, how can you like one of these evil, vile monsters? You know, as if she was a woman. It's appalling you. It's just not to be born. The usual feminist BS. So let's have a look at it, how it is. You know, why this happens. The first thing to notice when you meet people who are in Western men, who are in longer relationships with ladyboys, and we will use that word because that's what they call themselves. If you find these men, then they're always older than their partners. It's extremely rare for there to be anything less than maybe a 20-year age gap, and usually more. To be quite honest with you, you'll see significant age gaps in relationships. But I'm not talking about the bar scene. I'm not talking about you going and purchasing a girl's time in Thailand as you could. And most ladyboy sex workers here are freelancers, so they're not paid by the bar. So it's, you know, a different thing. You meet them in the street. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about paid for encounters here, because they are a completely separate category of encounters, you know. I'm talking about where you've met someone who isn't a sex worker, and you're like 5 years later, like me, you're still with the same girl, and yeah, you know, we've had rows. Tell me a married couple that hasn't had rows, you know. But, you know, I have a little rule that I learned years ago, which is you never go to bed on a row, you sort it out. And we do. We make sure that it's, you know, there might be a little bit of tension for a little while after a really serious row, but it's always fine in the end, and we're fine 5 years later. Lesson for life, that. Never sleep on a row. Never. Never let these things fester. So the question becomes, why do you stay? You know? Well, I'm not gay. It's obvious I'm not homosexual. For God's sake, have a look at me. Why am I with her? And something I would say at this point is, there seems to be a little bit of an assumption, it's fallacious, like, that men who are with ladyboys are not interested in being with women. And I can assure you this is completely untrue. It's just not the case. Every single, well, you know, there are some guys who are autogynephilic, but all the non-autogynephilic men I know who are in long-term relationships with ladyboys, they're just as interested in ordinary women. You know, yeah, you can see by the way their eyes move. You know, they're following the legs. She's cute. We're just ordinary guys. So how do you end up with someone who has, or used to have, usually still has, a penis? And to understand that, you need to understand a little bit about Asian culture. You cannot meet and marry a nice, young, well brought up Filipina, or Thai, or Indonesian, or Malaysian. You cannot do it. Girl, we're talking about girls here, female girls. You cannot do that. You're a foreigner. You can't do it. They're not interested in foreigners. Girls like that are reserved for locals. And they are looking for, because these are girls who normally would come from good families, they'd have be well educated, they might be planning to go to university. This sort of girl, I mean, you have no chance. You have absolutely no. You're going to be like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. No. The girl will not even hold your hand. No. That becomes you would become her novino, and no, there's no way she's doing that, because that means that other men, local men, won't go near her. No. You're that guy, that foreign guy's novena, and he sticks with it. So, as a Westerner, who are the women that you're likely to be able to meet and maybe get into a relationship with? And I am not talking about sex workers here. I just don't even think about getting into a relationship with a sex worker. I'm talking about, ordinary girls who don't do that. And what you're going to find available for you is single mothers. That's all. You are not going to find any virgins. No. They're going to be single mothers. All of them. Invariably. Without doubt. Right? And if they're young, and certainly if they're from an ordinary family rather than an upper class family, and you have no chance. Seriously, unless you're Elon Musk, you have absolutely no chance. It's not going to work. If you're the ordinary kind of punter who comes to Southeast Asia, even if you're fairly well off, you're comfortable, you've got money to spend, no, absolutely not. You're not going to get one of the high-end girls. No. You're going to be left with a working class girl who's already got kids. Don't get me wrong, some of these girls are absolutely stunning. They're beautiful. They're lovely. And nice women, who will just pamper you. But you have to be responsible for the kids they already have. In the last, I mentioned a friend of mine who was dumped by her husband while she was in labour with her fourth child by him. Nice. But that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a girl who's got 4 dependent children or something like that. Because women here, once they start having babies, they don't stop. I mean, they keep going. It's a matter of pride with them. So, you, as the Western coming in, you have to take that on. You have to become the father. And you will also, I am, you will also become the godfather to a whole tribe of infants. There's no choice for you in this. It is the way it is, and you cannot change it. Just because you're a USican doesn't mean the rest of the world works by USican rules. People don't behave the way you behave. People are traditional, conservative. Capiche? So, even if you find a girl like that, and she's had her 4 kids, or whatever, come back to that, or whatever, but once she's in a relationship with you, the first thing she's going to try to do is get pregnant again. Because she wants to make a family with you. Because that's so powerful a bond. That bond of common parenthood, of the child. She is seeking to nail you down so that you don't go wandering. Right? Because remember, I said in a previous video, philandering is a fucking national pastime in this country. And philandering very often leads to marriage breakup. And the girls don't want that. They want, no. I want this guy to stay with me. And so, yeah, they're fantastic in bed, and they really will work at being nice in bed. But they got kids, and they're going to want kids with you. If they're serious about you, they will definitely want children with you. And to be honest with you, me personally, when I started dating again after my divorce, I was in my early 50s. And at that time I said, I lost my father when I was 15, right? And I said at that time, I am not going to do that to a child. I'm just not going to do it. That's not fair. So I'm not going to be fathering any children. And in any case, I've been snipped, I had a vasectomy, 25 years ago. I'm not going to be fathering kids no matter how much she wants it. Up to you. if you're looking for that, if you're wanting a family, if you want to have a family with a girl who will already have kids, it's certain. Yeah, Filipinas can be wonderful. They can be really, really wonderful. I mean, they are really nice girls, and they're brought up to be good girls, you know, to be nice, to know how to look after men and how to be loving and caring, to be good mothers. I mean, that's what they are, good mothers. But if you don't want that, then your choices rapidly. Just as an aside, a quick aside, the difference between men and women, okay, well, yeah, men and women in the Philippines, and it's the same in every other Southeast Asian country, is not determined by sex. I know. Americans, their heads explode. But to be a man, you have to be masculine, right? That means you have to be able to indulge in all the masculine activities, you know. You probably smoke, you can hold your drink, you can fix cars, you can play football. Well, here it would be basketball. There's a whole range of, you know, approved masculine activities that, yeah, that's what you're going to have to be doing if you're going to be considered a man, you know. Forget being a hairdresser and still being considered a man. It's not going to happen. No. They're going to go gay. Simple as that. There's nothing you can do about it. Right? But the other one that's actually interesting, perhaps more here, is that women are not women until they've had children. Before that, they're girls. Okay? Now, as explained, you're not going to get your hands on a girl. Women become women when they have children. Right? They're not, you know, the original, or one original sense of the word virgin wasn't, you know, you'd never had sex. It was, you haven't had a kid yet. Right? And that's caused the amount of argument about Mary and all the rest of it, you know. So that means women's status in the society is dependent on their motherhood, on their being mothers. Before you're a mother, you're a girl. After you're a mother, you're a woman. Follow? That's why there was the differentiation in the West between Miss and Mrs. Now, I know we kind of went, yeah, that means Miss, you're not married, Mrs, you are married. But actually that was only because in previous times, as soon as a girl got married, you know, she would do everything she could to get pregnant. And normally, you know, girls would be pregnant within a couple of weeks. And so they have their first baby that year. So that's them, you know, they're women by anybody's measure. And of course, feminists hated that. That's why they had to get rid of and use this ridiculous Ms. thing. It's absolutely nonsense. You know, a woman is not a woman until she has a mother. Until she's a mother. Obviously, she's a girl. You know, in the past they'd have been called virgins. And I'm a former stockman, right? I used to look after cattle for a living, and in cattle terms, they'd be called heifers. Yeah, that is what they're called. That is a cow before she's had her first calf. After that, she's a cow. It's the same thing. But status in the woman group, which is the dominant part of the matriarchy, obviously, comes from being a mother. So your girlfriend is not going to go for no, I'm not going to let you have kids, sorry. Not having kids with me. No. I mean, that's just going to turn her off completely. If by some miracle you've got a girl that doesn't already have kids, she is definitely going to want to have them with you. And you can't say no. You cannot turn around to a girl and say, I love you, darling, but you can't have any kids. How could any man say that? How could you say that? That's an appalling thing to say. And I've known men in the West do it, and I just consider them lower than lice. What a horrible, horrible thing to do. I mean, in the West, women actually choose not to have kids. I think they're insane. But that's not my problem. That's their issue. But for a man to say, you will not have kids, but I still love you and I want to marry you, that's BS. That's all it is. It's just BS. Leaving that aside. So you're going to be in a situation where your girl is going to want to have kids. And here's another thing. Most girls who already have children, well, they didn't get pregnant by playing with themselves, right? I promise you they didn't. So what does this mean? What it means is that there's a guy in the background somewhere with whom she did make the babies. How do you know he's gone forever? How do you know he has departed the field and ain't coming back? And if she was married to that guy, He has rights over her. Filipino law is quite strict. If you have sex with that girl, then you're committing adultery, which is actually a crime here. Right? I mean, okay, so it's not very often acted on, but it is actually a fact that you are not allowed, if you're not her husband, to have sex with a married woman. And there's no divorce. There's no divorce here. Think about the mess that this all is. It's a train wreck of absolutely epic proportions. So, don't do it, is my advice. It would be unwise. What are you going to do? I know a girl just across the road from our last house. Sorry, tears going crazy. And she was hooked up with a foreigner who was basically an alcoholic. He spent all his time up the bars ogling the girls, possibly doing more. She's a nice girl, we liked her. Well, we both liked her. She was a nice person. What did she do? She imported into the house a houseboy and gardener. And that was notionally his role. He had his own room in the house. What was he there for? He was there to screw her in the afternoons. That's all it was. She wasn't happy with sex with her husband, but she was still going to take his money. And instead, she just brought in a little callboy that she could play hide the salami with anytime she liked. Whether or not he knew about this, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't tell him. None of my business. These are the kind of problems you're faced with. I'm not saying that Asian women aren't great women. They're lovely. They're wonderful women. But they come with baggage. Okay? Now let's look at the ladyboy. The major problem with ladyboys is that, especially if they are the oldest male offspring of the family, they will be expected to contribute to the family budget. Okay? That is going to fall upon your shoulders if you're the partner. Get used to it. They're obviously not going to have kids of their own. I mean, no, don't believe what you read in the papers. Males cannot have babies, sorry, and all ladyboys are actually male. If the clue is in the name, So they're not going to do that. You might well get, asked for, look, I really have to give something to my mum. Could we give her, maybe 5,000-6,000 pesos a month? It won't be a huge amount of money. These are usually going to be, working class people, and for a working class person, even 10k is quite a lot of money. Maybe a bit more. But, I'm assuming that you're there and you're actually supporting her daily needs. If you're abroad and you're sending, then it might be a bit more that she asks for, but it's not going to be excessive. It's going to be livable with. And she's not going to cheat. Most ladyboys are extremely loyal. Their whole, once they've got a man, they're really invested in making sure that relationship persists, in prolonging, as one writer said, as prolonging their sexual and romantic relationship as long as was possible. And they will do everything to try and do that. They will be good in bed, they will be attentive, they will look after you when you're sick, they'll put up with your bad moods and you're getting drunk and falling about that kind of crap that men do, They will even put up with you philandering as long as it's not with another ladyboy. Right? Do not ever do that. You might well get a knife between your ribs. Don't do it. You philandering, see, this is how it works. Look, you're a guy, right? Ladyboys don't want gay guys. Do they? They just, no, that's like oil and water. Not interested. They're only interested in real men. Right? So, the problem is, if you philander with a woman, and the ladyboy's going to be, she's going to be furious. But she's going to go, yeah, but he did come back, didn't he? And he went with a real woman. Real men need real women. All he's really done is prove that he's actually a real man. He's just proved that he's not gay, in other words. And so she's going to cry a lot and go, well, yeah, but it's okay. At least he's not gay. And for her, that's an important thing. I'm sorry, I'm not being, gay phobic or anything like that. It's just the way it is here. She wants to know and reinforce at all times that her partner isn't gay. And you screwing a woman is pretty good affirmation of the notion that, no, you ain't gay. You can't keep your cock out of pussy. Ah, there's a real man for you. Ah, his pants are off at the sniff, the mere sniff of a pussy. And trust me, Filipinas are very good at advertising the coochie. You'd be amazed how forward they can be. And even when their own husbands are sitting two seats further along, you know, you'd be absolutely shocked if you're a Westerner. At first you'll go, whoa, well, why is she sitting like that with her legs so far apart, you know, and she's only wearing a little pair of cotton panties, and she's looking at me. I mean, what do you think she's doing? She's going, come on, let's go. You know? So your ladyboy girlfriend, if you do that, she's going to be angry with you. I mean, she's going to be angry with you, really, really. And she might well not talk to you for a month. But it's going to blow over. You do that with another ladyboy, it's finished. It's done. You have just ended the relationship. The reason being that she might go in her head, she'll go, wait a minute. Is he interested in me because he really likes me and he thinks I'm beautiful? Or is it just because I've got a cock? What if he's gay? What if he's playing with my cock at night when I'm asleep? What if that's what's fascinating him? You better fucking prove to me right now that you're not gay. Otherwise, this is over. And how are you going to do that? After all, you've just screwed another ladyboy. And she's going to be going, I'm suspicious of you. I'm suspicious of you. And that is really, really, really corrosive to a relationship. It ain't going to work. But in broader terms, I think men stay with ladyboys because it works. You know, I mean, you know, the first time I met Sam, I didn't really, you know, she made no effort. You know, usually when you go on a date with a ladyboy, that's like, you know, I mean, it's like dazzle you with her stunning gorgeousness. And she turned up in a little hoodie top and a pair of pants, you know, and she's not very tall, so she was kind of unexceptional. And she later said, I did that because I wanted to know what you were like, you know, if you were fascinated by the exterior, or if you were interested in me. She's a smart kid, that one. But we clicked. We really, really clicked. And it's like, yeah, I couldn't imagine life without her now. Yeah, she drives me nuts. I call her my little pet monster. You know, my beloved monster, like the song, you know, in Shrek. And she is. She's constantly winding me up, constantly causing trouble. Her mood swings are just off the wall. But I still love her. It's still, the click is massive. And again, every single successful couple that I know between a straight man and a ladyboy. Sorry, there's somebody. I apologise for the vendor outside. Nonsense. It happens all the time here. But yeah, it's that click that leads to love, you know. And it's like, I can't imagine not being with her. And yeah, there's times when we've had her around, I'm like, I've really had enough of this. I have so had enough of this. And then you kind of realise that no, I can't do that to her. I couldn't leave her. I couldn't walk away from Sam. I couldn't do that to her. She's part of me now. You know, like I say, she's my beloved monster. And so, you know, I think that's every single relationship I know, successful relationship between a straight, you know, regular heterosexual man and a ladyboy, that's what it is all about. They are just, you see that instantly that they are such great partners. You know, it's like, that's a real nice couple, that couple. They're just so into each other. And it's obvious to everyone. Everybody sees it. You know, Sam's a hell of a girl for winding people up, you know. And so she wound up one of our friends who was here for a while, you know, and saying, me and Rod are splitting up, you know. And it's really funny because, you know, under most circumstances, if you say that to a girl in the Philippines, the girl will go, oh really? Oh, I might move in then. I might get, you know, plan a little attack here of my own, you know, see if I can get my hooks in him. No, in this case, the friend went crazy and said, no, you can't do that. You're the best couple we've ever seen. No, I won't allow you to do that. I'm coming over and I'm going to sort this out. You know, right now, we're going back to your house and we're going to sort it out so that you're not leaving Roy. And of course, eventually Sam says, like, it's all right, I'm just winding you up. Of course, the usual stuff after that. But, you know, that's absolutely true. And that is what happens. You know, people really know that these relationships are solid. And it's because of this incredible click. I can't explain why that click is there. And maybe it's just because, in fact, in reality, both members of the relationship are male. Maybe that's it. I don't know. It could be. It's still hard to believe that, but, it's a possibility. So anyway, I thought I'd do a little thing like that, but just, I'm kind of a ramble there, but I know a lot of guys now, you're getting into these relationships with trans women, with ladyboys, and trust me, if you've got the right girl, then you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I mean, first of all, sex is going to be great. It just is going to be great. Because they love sex as much as we do, basically, the simple fact of the matter. And, you get everything from total room wreckers to the more calm and placid type. But, yeah, they're still into it. And that's always a nice thing. I mean, don't get wrong, Filipino women are heavily into sex too. Sex is a big deal here. I sometimes wonder if it's maybe because it's so hot and people don't wear too many clothes, Easier to get out of them in a hurry, I don't know, but there is, sex is really big time on the agenda across Southeast Asia. Except with unmarried girls. Can't touch them. The virginity of the unmarried woman or girl, she's not even a woman, must be protected. It's part of the culture. Not allowed to touch that. You might end up, in the river with a pitchfork in your back. Seriously, you might. I've heard of men getting into serious trouble because they managed to seduce, some little 18-year-old innocent, and dad, his 4 brothers, and the 16 cousins and brothers all came down to have a wee wordie with the guy who did it, and he was lucky to get out of the country in time. That's what happens. That does happen. So anyway, yeah, there are many practical advantages to being in a relationship with a ladyboy if you're a man. Especially if you're an older man, you don't want any more kids. Different if you do want kids. Obviously, if you want kids, you have to choose a natal woman. You have to. But if you don't want kids, there's a hell of an advantage in ladyboys. And let's be honest, the sex is just as good. It really is just as good. It's slightly different, but it's still as good. I'm sorry, girls. It is. So that's it. That's why. And anyway, so I'm going to say happy anniversary to us. And I know she's come back. She's downstairs. And I will go and see her. And I'll see you later. Bye-see. Bye-see.